I thought I was walking into a surprise party. You know, balloons, some off-key singing, maybe one of those store-bought cakes with too much frosting and my name spelled wrong. Instead, I walked into a living room full of champagne flutes, forced, smiles, and the moment my wife handed me divorce papers, on my birthday, in front of her entire family. "Surprise," Julia said with a practiced smile. "I'm leaving you for someone who actually inspires me." And just like that, the room erupted into celebration. Her father popped the champagne like he'd just closed a $1 million deal. Her mother poured glasses with the elegance of a woman who's been waiting to toast my humiliation for years. Her sister Annabelle clapped a little too hard. One of their family friends whispered, "Finally," behind a crooked grin. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just looked down at the manila envelope in Julia's hands. Thick, weighted, pre-signed and ready to go, like this wasn't the end of a marriage, but the final signature on a contract I never really understood. I took the Mont Blanc pen her father smugly offered me, the same one he used to sign property, deals and power plays. And I signed every page, slowly, deliberately, the way you etch your name into something you're ready to bury. Then I looked at Julia and said, "Thanks for the gift. This might be the first birthday I'll actually remember." I walked out without another word. No slammed doors. No dramatics. Because the moment you realize someone choreographed your downfall and made it a group event, well, the performance loses its sting. You just want to leave the stage. I met Julia in college. She was the kind of girl who walked into a classroom like she owned the building. Always sat in the front row. Always asked the professor questions that started with, "Don't. You think it's interesting how Nietzsche would frame this differently?" She wore designer blazers over faded band tees and acted like it was an intentional fashion choice. It probably was. I was nothing like her. I was the guy who worked night shifts fixing boilers to afford tuition. The guy who drank gas station, coffee, and wore the same 3 hoodies on rotation. My idea of luxury was extra sauce on a burger. Her idea was weekends in Napa, and yet we clicked. She was magnetic, bright, fierce. I didn't understand half the books she quoted, but I loved listening. I made her laugh. She said I grounded her, that I was real, and at the time I thought that was a compliment. We started dating senior year. After graduation, she took a job at her father's firm. Temporary, she called it, while I started climbing the ladder at a logistics company. I didn't have connections, but I had hustle and grit and calloused hands. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony, backyard style, but not in my backyard. No, her parents insisted. It'd be at their estate, a place with white tents, imported orchids, and a string quartet playing Coldplay like it was Mozart. I didn't even know Coldplay could sound so sad. That day, her father made a toast. "To ambition," he said, raising his glass, "and to finding love in unexpected places, even if it's a few pay grades below." People laughed. I did too. Because when you're marrying the love of your life, you tell yourself little things don't matter. You let the comments roll off your back. You convince yourself their coldness isn't personal. It's just tradition. But traditions have sharp edges. Every family dinner after that was an audition I never passed. Her father would drop backhanded compliments like, "Still at that? Same company? Loyal? Or just comfortable?" Her mother would ask, "So what do you do again?" with the same tone you use when checking if a store still sells floppy disks. It didn't help that Julia stopped defending me. In the early years, she'd jump in with a quick jab, a laugh, a "Don't start, Dad." But over time, she just stopped. She'd let their remarks sit in the air like spilled wine on a white tablecloth. I told myself it didn't matter. Because I loved her, and love, at least the way I understood it, was supposed to be stronger than snobbery, louder than social, class, and thicker than champagne. Turns out champagne stains deeper than you think. Marriage isn't one moment. It's thousands of small ones, shared breakfasts, silent car rides. The way she used to reach for my hand under restaurant tables. The way we used to talk for hours about things that didn't matter, just to fill the space with each other. And it's also the first time she chooses not to wait up for you. The first time her laughter stopped sounding like home. The first time "I love you" sounds rehearsed. That's when the cracks begin. At first, they're invisible. You think maybe she's tired. Maybe you're both just busy. You make excuses, because that's what love teaches you to do. Protect the other person even from the truth. But the cracks grow, and no amount of good intentions or dinner reservations can stop the water from getting in. After the wedding, we moved into a small apartment on the edge of the city. Not much, but it had light in the mornings, and I installed floating bookshelves, with my own hands, one crooked panel at a time. Julia called it charming. She'd take photos of our mismatched furniture and caption them on Instagram with things like, "Making the best of the simple life." Grateful, cozy corner. I'd smile when I saw those posts. Until I started noticing the tone. It wasn't pride, it was pity, as if she was documenting a charity project, not a marriage. She never tagged me, while I was grinding out 10-hour shifts, skipping lunch to finish reports and trying to squeeze promotions from a company that still spelled my name wrong in emails. Julia was rising fast. Her father's firm took her from assistant project manager to director of strategic relations in 18 months. And while I was happy for her, genuinely, I started to notice that success had a way of sharpening her edges. She came home late, always. Not in the obvious way, no lipstick stains or missed calls at 2 a.m., just enough to blur the lines. Networking, event, she'd say, slipping off heels that cost more than my first car. She wore expensive perfume I didn't recognize, subtle, complex, like something you buy at a boutique where prices aren't listed. She smiled at her phone a lot. Once I glanced over her shoulder while she was texting. She tilted the screen away. Another time she laughed at something, one of those breathy, flirty laughs I hadn't heard in months. I asked what was funny. She said, "Just something from work. I didn't push." I told myself it didn't matter, but it did. The more I tried to pull her closer, the more she slipped away. I started taking on extra projects. Told myself that if I just worked harder, earned more, climbed faster, she'd see that I was enough. I even put together a plan for buying our first home. Found a fixer-upper with good bones and a backyard big enough for a dog we never had time for. Brought her the listing one night while she was answering emails at the kitchen table. She looked at it for maybe 5 seconds, then said, "Do you really want to live in that neighborhood?" Her voice wasn't angry. It was flat, like I'd just asked if she wanted pizza again. I told her it was what we could afford, that we'd make it beautiful, together. She nodded, but I could see the thought behind her eyes. Not good enough. Later that week, she posted a photo of her cousin's new condo downtown. Captioned, "Goals, one day." I knew I was losing her, slowly, painfully. She started comparing everything. Her friend Hannah's husband bought her a Lexus for their anniversary. I got Julia a handwritten letter and a weekend cabin stay. She didn't say anything bad about it. She just didn't say anything at all. That silence, it's the sharpest knife. She stopped asking how my day was. She stopped telling me about hers. We'd eat dinner in front of the TV, not because we were tired, but because eye contact had become something uncomfortable. Even sex became mechanical. Polite, scheduled, something you did the way you brush your teeth. Necessary but uninspired. I held on. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You fight the fire, even when it's already ash. But she had already made up her mind. I just didn't know it yet. A week before my birthday, she started acting strange. Not angry strange. Excited strange. She hummed in the kitchen, smiled when I walked into the room, texted constantly. Always quick to flip her phone over when I got near. "I'm planning something," she told me one night, eyes bright. "Just wait." I wanted to believe, I really did. I thought maybe she was trying. Maybe things were turning around. I even made an effort, ordered takeout from her favorite Thai place, bought that overpriced candle she liked, and took a day off work to spend with her. She came home that night 3 hours late. The food was cold. The candle still wrapped. She said she had to stay late. Her team was closing an end-of-quarter deal. She never asked what the dinner was for. The day of my birthday, I worked. Of course I worked. That's what adults do, right? You show up. You push through. You convince yourself that the little stuff, Like your wife not making plans doesn't matter. When I got home, the apartment was dark, but there was a note on the counter. Come to my parents' house. Your surprise is waiting. And I smiled, even after everything, even after the distance and the silence and the gut feeling I kept trying to silence. I smiled. I thought maybe she'd planned a party. Maybe this was her way of saying, I still care. Maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe I still mattered. When I pulled up to her parents' house that night, I still had hope in my chest. Not a lot, but enough to make me fix my collar in the rearview mirror. I stood on the doorstep of their sprawling suburban mansion, the kind of house with 3 types of lighting in every room and a foyer that echoed like a cathedral. I thought maybe there'd be music. Maybe Julia would open the door in that green dress I loved, holding a sparkler or a ridiculous party hat. Instead, the door opened, and she stood there with a glass of wine in one hand and a look I couldn't read, not warm, not cold, just rehearsed. Come in, she said, stepping aside. I walked into the living room and stopped. The room was full of people, her parents, her sister, some of their family friends, the same ones who always looked at me like I was the guest at a country club who didn't know the dress code. Everyone held champagne flutes. Everyone turned to look at me. No one said a word. There was no cake, no decorations, just that horrible, suffocating silence, the kind that only happens when people know something you don't. Sit, Julia said, motioning toward the sleek, uncomfortable leather chair they always made me use. It squeaked when I moved. I hated that chair. She walked to the center of the room. Everyone parted like she was royalty entering a court. Then she held up her glass. We have a special surprise for you tonight, she said, and suddenly I knew. I knew with the kind of clarity that burns through your chest like acid. The whole week, her mood, the secrecy, the smiles, the excitement. It wasn't about celebrating me, it was about executing me. I'm leaving you, she said, still smiling. I've met someone else, someone who understands me, someone who inspires me. You've been steady, safe, but I want more. I need more. Her father actually laughed, a dry, throaty chuckle like he'd been waiting years for this moment. Her mother started pouring more champagne, whispering, finally, to her friend. Julia's sister looked at the floor, and then, as if this were all some twisted improv show, Julia stepped over to the marble island and picked up a manila envelope. Divorce papers, already filled out. Just needs your signature, she said, offering me a Mont Blanc pen, the same one her father bragged about once during dinner, claiming it was a limited edition from Geneva, not that you'd care. I looked around the room. No one flinched. No one said a word. This wasn't a surprise to them. This was the finale of a plan they'd all been in on, some sick, choreographed performance, and I was the punchline. I took the pen, I didn't say a word. I walked to the pristine marble countertop, the one they had flown in from Italy and never let me touch because you might scratch it, and signed every line of that document, line by line, page by page. The only sound was the pen gliding across the paper and the soft clink of glasses in the background. No one moved. No one stopped me. When I finished, I placed the pen back on the countertop, looked at Julia, really looked at her, and said, thanks for the gift. It's the most honest thing you've ever given me. Then I turned around and walked out. No door slams, no shouting, no begging for an explanation, just silence. That was my answer. I drove without knowing where I was going. Ended up in a strip mall parking lot 2 towns over. Parked under a flickering security light next to a closed nail salon called Nailvana. The kind of place that looked like it offered free existential crises with every manicure. I sat in the car for a long time. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just stared. Then I drove to Mike's place. He opened the door wearing boxers and a hoodie, holding a bowl of cereal. Didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer, moved a pile of laundry off the couch, and said, "You want to talk?" I shook my head. "Cool," he said. "Want to punch something?" He pointed to his PlayStation controller. We played for 3 hours without saying a word, and it was the most peace I'd felt in weeks. The next morning I woke up with a tension, headache, and a phone buzzing like it owed someone money. 26 missed messages, 12 of them from Julia. The first one was a smug, "Hope you're okay." The next few turned panicked. By the 10th, "Can we just talk? Please." By the 20th, I made a mistake, and that's when I knew. She expected me to come crawling back. She thought the shock would break me, that I'd beg, that I'd compete for her attention. She didn't expect silence. She didn't expect strategy. Because here's the thing about being humiliated publicly. It burns away the last scraps of denial. It replaces love with something colder, something clearer, something dangerous. That same afternoon, I went back into our shared cloud account. We still had a synced folder for household files, grocery lists, bills, PDFs for her business proposals. And that's when I found it. A folder labeled Q3. Presentation, internal. It wasn't hers. It was her father's. Inside were screenshots of emails, PDFs, altered financial statements, scanned invoices for vendors that didn't exist. Bronson Riddell, king of ethics, self-proclaimed LinkedIn thought leader, the man who lectured me about value systems, had been running offshore accounts, fudging corporate expenses, and using employees' names to launder money through shell companies. All right there. In a neatly organized digital folder hidden in plain sight, Julia had known. She was keeping it. Insurance, maybe. Or something darker. I didn't care why. I forwarded the entire thing to my lawyer, Larrick, the same pit bull in a suit who once got an oil executive to cry on the stand. Larrick's reply? "Christmas came early. I'll prep the countersuit." Then came the second hit, a message from Annabelle. Not Julia's sister, her ex-best friend, the one who vanished last year after a falling out. She sent a voice memo. Julia's voice, laughing. "He's like a dependable old backpack. Not exciting, but you know he'll carry your shit." Then a text. She cheated. With Ronan. From her office. I caught them. She told me to shut up and blocked me. Figured you deserved to know. And there it was, confirmation, not just suspicion. Not just gut feeling. Fact. She left me for Ronan, someone who probably whispered compliments into her ear in the same office where she used to text me, "working late." Everything clicked into place. The perfume, the late nights, the practiced smiles. The growing distance. She was never planning a surprise party. She was planning my execution. It started with headlights. Was halfway through binge-watching a forgettable true crime series when the notification pinged on my phone. Front door camera. Motion detected. I checked the live feed, expecting a neighbor's cat, or maybe another Amazon package I forgot. I ordered, but it was a car, a white Audi, her Audi, parked across the street. Headlights off, engine silent. Sitting there like some ghost from a chapter I thought was over. For a moment, I thought maybe she was dropping something off. A box of forgotten stuff. A cheap excuse to start a conversation. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. The car didn't move. I turned off the TV and went to bed. Couldn't sleep. At 1:32 a.m., another notification. Motion at the door. Then came the text. "I know you're home. I've been sleeping in my car for 2 nights. I have nowhere else to go." I stood at the window and looked down. She was still there, slumped in the driver's seat, wrapped in a coat too thin for the early spring chill. Her once flawless hair, a tangled mess. Her face pale under the street lamp. She looked nothing like the woman who once toasted my divorce with Dom Perignon. She looked like someone who'd lost everything, and the strangest part? I didn't feel satisfaction. No revenge. "No, I told you so. Just wait." Quiet and heavy. I threw on a hoodie and sweatpants, walked outside, and tapped on the window. She flinched when she saw me, scrambled to open the door, her voice cracked. "Can we talk?" Inside, she sat at the edge of the couch like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to touch anything. She looked around, at the minimalist shelves I'd built myself, the freshly painted walls, the coffee mug with the chipped rim I refused to throw away. She looked at it like it was a museum of a life she used to be part of. "You fixed the bookshelf," she said. "I did," I answered. "It looks better than before." I didn't reply. She pulled her knees to her chest. Her voice was small, broken. "Ronan's gone. Disappeared after my father fired him." I didn't flinch. He was leaking company information, she continued, to a competitor, and I was helping him, covering for him. She looked at me, eyes red. Because I thought I loved him. I thought he was exciting and new and different. I don't know what I thought. I stayed silent. She wiped her nose with her sleeve. The same designer sleeve that used to cost more than my rent. I lost everything, she whispered. My job, my apartment. My family won't talk to me. My dad, he's under federal investigation. My mother calls me the leak. You were the only one who never made me feel like a liability. Her eyes filled again, and for the first time I saw the guilt, not performative, real. I know I don't deserve anything, but I didn't know where else to go. I took a deep breath. You can sleep on the couch tonight. That's it. She nodded too quickly, like even that was a gift. The next morning I made coffee like I always did. Black, no sugar, old habit. She sat across from me, quiet. When her phone rang, Dad, on the screen, she hesitated, then put it on speaker. Bronson's voice was different now, less commanding, less smug. Julia, we're in trouble. Investors are backing out. We need someone with industry credibility to get this deal stabilized. You said your ex is doing well, that he has contacts? She looked at me. Hope flickered, behind the shame. I sipped my coffee. Then I spoke. I'm not interested, but I know someone who might be. Bronson paused. Who? A woman I've been seeing. She's brilliant. Built her own consulting firm from scratch. No help. No daddy's money. She's the real deal. Dead silence. Then Bronson mumbled, Fine. Send her info. I did. End of call. Julia sat frozen. You're seeing someone? I nodded. She's kind, sharp, doesn't care how much my shoes cost. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Do you love her? I didn't answer. She bit her lip. Do you hate me? No, she blinked. Then why are you looking at me like I'm a stranger? Because you are, I said. You're not the woman I married. You're not even the woman who left me. She looked down at her hands, clasped tightly. I was scared, she whispered. Scared of being average, scared of failing, scared of becoming my mother. I thought you weren't enough. But the truth is, I wasn't. Tears welled in her eyes again. Will you ever forgive me? I looked at her, not the version I built in my head, the real one, cracked, raw, human. I already did, I said, but not for you, for me. She left that afternoon, with a backpack, no ride, no money, just the weight of her own choices. She moved in with her sister for a while. Last I heard, she got a job at a startup, entry level, answering emails instead of directing teams. Her Audi got repossessed, her Instagram went silent. And me, I'm good, better than good. My furniture business is thriving. People started calling me that guy from TikTok who makes old crap look new. I'll take it. The house is small but mine, clean, quiet, full of things I built with my own hands. There's a dog now, Max, a three-legged rescue who chews my socks and sleeps by the front door like he's guarding a palace. And yes, the woman I mentioned? Her name is Elena. She challenges me, laughs at my terrible jokes. She doesn't care where I went to school or what I drive. She just sees me. 6 months ago, I was sipping champagne at my own public execution. Today, I'm sipping coffee on a porch I built myself, with a dog at my feet and a life that finally fits me. No costume, no pretending, just peace. That's the real surprise. And it didn't come from a party, it came from walking away.